Hey everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. So over the years, many of you have joined us on our channel and on our Facebook forum to learn more about caring for your sheep and goats. And recently we have been seeing a lot of people misusing medications. I want to take some time today to talk to you briefly about a specific medication called dexamethasone. I want to talk to you about what this should be used for, and then I want to talk to you about what it should not be used for. So dexamethasone is a man-made product. It is not a hormone in and of itself. It is a synthetic steroid. Now, some of you may think of steroids as something that people take to get big muscles, but there's lots of different classes of steroids that we use in both people medicine and in veterinary medicine. It mimics the effects of a hormone that is in people and in sheep and goats that you may have heard of before, and that hormone is called cortisol. Many of us know cortisol as the stress hormone. Dexamethasone is a very potent replacement for cortisol, and it works really, really well for very bad cases of inflammation throughout the body, and it also works as an immunosuppressant. Now, I said immunosuppressant because it suppresses the body's response to things like infection, so you can cause a lot of trouble by giving dexamethasone, but we will get to that here in just a little bit. So if we don't use it for certain things, well then what in the world do we use it for? Well, one of the first and foremost things that a lot of veterinarians will use dexamethasone for is to induce labor in sheep and goats. So this could be because there's complications and we need that sheep or goat to deliver their baby, or it could be that they're past due and they need to deliver that baby. And when we inject the animal with dexamethasone, a lot of times what it will do is it will mimic the effects that would naturally be occurring in the body prior to delivery. So prior to delivery, lambs and goat kids will go through a process where they naturally start producing cortisol. It's released into mom's system and it works as a signal to tell mom that it is time to deliver. So that is one of the many ways that dexamethasone is used. Another way that dexamethasone is used is for ewes or does that are off feed. Dexamethasone will cause them to get hungry. It messes with the hormones in the body, and it also starts utilizing parts of the body to increase the blood sugar level in sheep and goats. And when that blood sugar spikes, it triggers the animal to start eating more. So a lot of times if we're dealing with things like pregnancy toxemia, where the animal really needs to get back on track with eating, or maybe that animal has been sick, we can see veterinarians prescribe dexamethasone as well. Drying up animals that are currently lactating. So there's a hormone in the sheep and goat's body called prolactin, and this is released to tell that animal to produce milk. Now, there are other things at play when it comes to this, but basically what you need to know is the dexamethasone messes with those hormones and it can help dry a ewe or a doe up. So that can also be a side effect of dexamethasone if you needed to use it, or if you chose to give it to an animal that is lactating, is it can in fact dry them up. You will see dexamethasone used in conjunction sometimes with other drugs such as antibiotics when a doe or a ewe is suffering from mastitis. So again, it will have a significant effect on the lactation of a sheep or goat, so you want to be cautious of that as well. Thanks for joining us today. I really do appreciate you watching our videos. If you would take the time to give us a thumbs up or leave a comment, it sure does help us out a lot. If you're not familiar with our online forum, you can find us on Facebook at Linessa Farms Tack Box. While I said that dexamethasone is a powerful drug that will hamper the body's immune response, there are times when an animal will need that to happen due to a very, very severe infection. And we know of this as sepsis or septic shock. When you think of sepsis, you can think of it as an infection that is affecting the entire body, and the body is having an out of control immune response to that infection. This can lead to extremely low blood pressure, and it can lead to eventual death. Dexamethasone can play an important role in controlling sepsis by kind of stepping on the brakes when it comes to the inflammatory response in the body. Now, while this is used for severe cases of infection like sepsis, it should not be given for run-of-the-mill infections that you may experience on your farm. When we look at a case of an infection such as pneumonia, dexamethasone will most commonly cause more harm than good. It can mask the symptoms of the infection, it can set that animal up for a secondary infection, and it can cause other problems such as fluid retention. Then, of course, there are inflammatory disease processes that can occur throughout the body. So this may be something like meningocele worm that is causing chronic inflammation in the brain. This may be possibly listeria or other infections, but again, this is best to be diagnosed by your veterinarian to tell you if you should use dexamethasone. We talked about a few things like increasing the desire for that animal to eat more. So some of you may be thinking, well, if it increases the desire for that animal to eat more, maybe I should consider using dexamethasone for things like getting my club lambs to eat more, or getting my show goats to eat more, and that would be a huge mistake. And the reason for that is that dexamethasone mimics the effects of that hormone cortisol. And if it's given for long periods of time, the body will naturally down-regulate its natural production of cortisol. And when that goes away, that body can be seriously messed up. And the long-term effects could be that that animal is no longer able to perform its natural hormone balance, and you can run into all kinds of problems. So we don't ever want to give Dex just for the purpose of getting an animal to eat more, unless it's an emergency situation in cases of things like pregnancy toxemia or something like that. Now, I know you hear me talk about dexamethasone as a powerful anti-inflammatory medication, so you may be thinking that this would be the drug of choice for things like maybe joint pain, and the answer to that is maybe. The real answer is that there are better drugs that can be used for things like pain, such as Banamine. Now, Banamine is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug that works very, very quickly and doesn't have the same effects on the hormone production level in the body of the sheep and goat. So in many, many cases, a drug like Banamine will be the preferred choice. What I want you to take away from this is understanding what dexamethasone is used for, and that things like run-of-the-mill infections, run-of-the-mill joint pain, or injuries is not the appropriate use for dexamethasone. Generally, this is given as an intramuscular injection. The concentration tends to be approximately 2 milligrams per milliliter. And the dosage of this can range anywhere from 1 milliliter per 20 to 50 pounds of body weight, and it's generally not given over an extended period of time. Again, this is a medication that you would get from your veterinarian. It does require a prescription, and it does require oversight from a veterinarian because of its profound effects on the body. I'm Tim from Linessa Farms, specialty in heirloom livestock. Thanks for joining us again today, and I look forward to seeing all of you again next time.